Welcome to EMS Office Hours. This is Jim Hoffman. These are your Monday Minutes. And guys, today we're going to continue on with trauma and focusing on burns and kind of rounding out this segment and going to talk quickly about some specific types of burns. Before we get there, guys, I always want to talk about why this is important. Of course, I always stress that this is key information that's going to help you pass your exams, going to help you kind of remind yourself that maybe you don't know some of the topics as well as you should, and hopefully get you to go ahead, open up your textbook, and build your knowledge base a little bit more, right? But it's not just for exams. You can also make better clinical decisions using this. You can write better reports, interact more effectively with other healthcare providers. Okay, so it's not just a one-size-fits-all type thing. You can use this in various ways, okay, because if you look at this content, and while it can be basic at times, if you don't understand something, go ahead, get that review book, get that app, use something like my paramedic, use your textbook, and review that piece of content. So let's get started today, guys. Let's just round this out. Talk about burns, and one of the things we have to keep in mind, we talk about specific types of burns, inhalation burns, and these actually are about 20 to 35% of patients that get admitted to burn centers are because of inhalation burns. And these happen in those closed environments, right? A building, a car, a plane, things like that. And what are some of the dangers you have to keep in mind when you talk about inhalation burns, right? Well, first of all, you have the heat that's involved, and of course, fire, and that consumes oxygen. The patient's got no left oxygen to breathe, and they end up inhaling those hot gases, right? Toxic gases, and also carbon monoxide. And of course, as I'm sure you've heard or you might have read by now, that the carbon monoxide displaces the oxygen on the hemoglobin, and it has a 250 times more affinity than oxygen has for hemoglobin. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're thinking about these inhalation burns, that there's other things that might be going on as well, including things like getting injury to the supraglottic airways, right? That thermal injury to the airways from that superheated air, or the infraglottic, right? Now, this is kind of rare. This is deep in the lungs, right? Where you get that portion of the lung that's involved in gas transfer, okay? The alveoli, the alveolar ducts, the respiratory bronchioles. While it's rare, it can be there, okay? But just keep in mind that these are some of the things you have to think about. You might see this on exams, okay, but also things to think about when you're assessing your patients and you're responding to these calls, that this is the type of thing you might come in contact with. In addition, of course, is the chemical burns, okay? Now, I'm sure this is something that we all get a little bit concerned about, right, because it's dangerous to us as well. So you have to find out, right, what type of chemical was it? We have to think about things like alkalis, acids, organic compounds. All right, so find out the type, what the concentration was, how much of it was there, the mechanism, how did they get it on them to begin with? Okay, did they fall into something? Was it intentional? Was it accidental? And how long of exposure did they have at the time that they were contaminated to that content? Okay, and also, guys, think about the fact that you can get burned by the fumes. Okay, so while the chemical burn is on the patient, they can be getting burns the respiratory tract because they're inhaling the fumes from that. You can also get it on you, or you can be affected by the fumes as well by treating the patient. So go ahead and try to go ahead and get those chemicals off the patient. Brush them off. Is usually the common method, is to brush off dry chemicals. Rinse the area for at least 20 minutes. Remove clothing as needed. Of course, follow your local guidelines, guys, and think about maybe contacting hazmat, right? Stay upwind from whatever the substance is. Think about your safety, okay, at all times. Now, we want to go over, ended up with the electrical burns, guys. The human body, primarily water, right? So what does that mean? That means that it is a great conductor. So some of the dangers you have to think about when you talk about electrical burns is when you get that direct contact, either current to skin or maybe an arcing injury where the current's jumping from the air to the skin, right? Think about the fact that you've got that deep tissue injury. Okay, a large amount of deep tissue injury can be involved, and what you might end up seeing is that a lot more injury is in the deep tissue, and you might have a very small entrance wound. Okay, so keep that in mind, that you might not see the actual injury, you might think it's less than it is because of a small entrance wound. When we talk electrical burns, we have to think about that it's more of a deep tissue injury, including up to they can get into cardiac arrest from that electrical shock. Okay, so when you're thinking about these patients, you respond to these calls, think about bringing in your AED, bring your monitor in, because when you have a patient with a cardiac arrest from that electrical shock, if you are in a rhythm that can be defibrillated, they have a good chance of survival. Okay, and guys, one other thing you want to think about. Okay, and again, this is something too. You want to find out sources and voltage and stuff like that, because it can be very useful to the ED and how they present, and how what the ED docs and the staff is going to maybe considering on the mechanism of injury and how deep tissue injury there is, or what other injuries there might be. So find out that source, how much voltage and things like that. Okay, just like you do with chemical burns. All right. Now I want to mention lightning, guy, because this, even though this is kind of rare, but 30% of people that actually get struck by lightning end up dying. But the thing to keep in mind is that you might find patients who were hit by lightning, and you don't see an entrance wound, you don't see an exit wound. And that's because the pathway of the electricity can a lot of times travel over the skin, not necessarily through the skin. Okay. So keep that in mind. You might see actually maybe some pinpoint burns with that, okay? And again, these patients with lightning injuries can suffer from cardiac arrest, respiratory arrest, okay? So some stuff to think about, guys. Again, this is basic content, but I want you to kind of take this into consideration when you're studying. Do you know the depths of the deep tissue injury? Do you know the depths or treatments of chemical burns? Do you know the different types of chemicals, alkalis versus acids, things like that? Okay. All this stuff goes into play, even when we talk about the inhalation burn. You know your guidelines, what you can do, what you can't do as far as airway management, what should you do as far as airway management. Okay, all these things to think about is going to help you with your exams, and also going to help you when it comes to treating and managing patients and what you should be doing for them. So guys, I'm going to end it there. Of course, if you like this type of stuff, you want to have a resource to go to when you need it, go check out Paramedic. I have a free level membership there. I don't like to call it free because it's an investment in your time and effort. I like to call it an insider membership, because you can get lots of content there that other people don't get access to by being a member. There's gigabytes of digital content, there's hours of audio and video, practice exams, exclusive access to the Facebook group, in addition to live videos that we do as kind of a group there every month. I try to get a live video in to answer questions and on any topic in EMS, whether it's something that's clinical or educational or even operational. Okay, try to help you through that. If I don't know the answer to it and we can't figure it out online, we'll go ahead and I'll find it for you and get you that answer. So go check that out. There is a premium level there, but this is the insider level, and this is the level you'll still get a wealth of content that can help you build your knowledge base and help you when you come to passing exams and treating your patients. So again, I'm going to end it there, guys. As always, if you have some minutes of your own, be sure to send them over to me. I'd love to go ahead and do these Monday Minutes on the content that you might be passionate about. You can do that by sending an email to contact@emsofficehours.com, and be sure to go check out emsofficehours.com. Look at the previous videos, listen to the podcast there, and other content as well. And be sure to share this video, subscribe to it, and maybe you have other providers out there who might find it useful in their EMS goings on. Okay, so guys, I'm going to end it there. As always, I am Jim Hoffman for EMS Office Hours in the Monday Minutes. Stay safe.